Hello there guys, and welcome to another model preview episode with Credit. These are models and concepts for future DayZ standalone mods. In this video we are looking into crafting your own makeshift tent. I think this would be a really good addition to camping for loads of different reasons, which I'll elaborate on as we go along. At the moment the game is bringing in more content for base building, which is really cool. Unfortunately though, I haven't seen many camps being set up after the release of tents. But I'm sure it's going to pick up as we go along the line. I personally want to see people build communities and servers though, so I'm focusing a lot of my ideas and content in the direction of camping, so making more items that you can interact with in camps, to basically making a campsite a more interesting place or meaningful or more important area where players come together. So those are my thoughts anyway guys, let's dive right in anyway. This is Makeshift Tents.
Here's the pitch.
In DayZ, civilization has plummeted into the abyss. Nothing works anymore. Many towns are unsafe, so you may have to rough it out into the woods. To do that, you need a tent, but they are few and far between. To get one, players have to run around from site to site or server hop until you eventually get lucky. But with a makeshift tent, you know by foraging a few parts together you can make something maybe not as good, but can work for you until you find either a real tent or better accommodation. So, to materials. At first I was thinking about cutting down trees and crafting something off the land, kind of like a den you would find and build from nature, but as it's based in the modern era, there are so much better materials you can utilise, though nature should be used, because I think it'd be great to use a little bit of everything. Okay, so what kind of modern building materials? Well, to find them, we need to take a trip to the building site. Yes, those strange places in game where it feels like it's becoming a bit of an odds and ends area for loot. So I really reckon here that using specific spawns and construction materials for these sites would make them more relevant places to visit. The first item, or items you could get from one of these sites, is a folded sheet of plastic tarp. This is your general plastic cover used by construction workers for loads of different purposes. Standard colour is usually blue to light blue, ideal for a large waterproof cover. This can fit in a bag. I think it's very carry friendly. You can fold it over many times and shove it in a bag, so I'm thinking it'll be around 6 to 8 slots. Tell me what you think guys anyway. The second item which would be useful is scaffolding poles, your general solid metal pole able to hold up a framework against the elements. Now these are large and can only be carried about 3 to 5 at a time. Maybe you could craft a rope to hold a few together if you needed to carry them over a long distance on foot. These would be ideal if you wanted to build stronger or bigger tent structures, but because of the mass, to utilise them you'd need the cooperation of players or friends or maybe even other clan members once you get really organised, or able to set up larger structures once logistics and vehicles comes in. This I'll talk about later. So that's things you can find from a building site. Touching on more natural materials though, the game already has items like sticks, which are great because they can be used in making smaller tents, but for bigger structures, tree branches would be great to use. Ideal branches would be from tall straight trees, such as ash, and they could spawn once the tree is cut down. Now moving on to types of shelter you could make with these extra materials. I've done a few quick concept sketches of tents that you could make. Now these are 3 examples of smaller tents that can accommodate one person, and it doesn't take many materials to put together. I do want to make models and texture maps of these and discuss capacity and what they will hold compared to a real tent, and obviously not as much as a real tent because they're very easily put together and they're not obviously super equipped like tents are, you know, especially designed for camping. But for another episode, as we're going to cover something a little bit bigger and uses all the materials I've mentioned. This is because in this video we are crafting a classic tent design of medium size, the Tipi. It worked for the American Indians for thousands of years, so it's going to work for you. However, this is not the exact size of a traditional teepee big enough for holding a drum circle and a fire inside. Though, on a side note, if I get a lot of interest in this tent system, I'll bring out a large version of the tent, but at that size, it's gonna take loads of materials and manpower to make it, so it'll be a little bit more like a community structure than some lone survivor's crib, unless you have ridiculous nice organization and logistics, so you can make one for every player. That as well would be awesome. But anyway, this is a medium-sized tent big enough to take 2 players. Making one of these tents will be harder to do on your own, so it's something you would put together to share with a friend, or even a clan member, or even if you already have a camp set up, you can build it as an extra shelter to accommodate newcomers until they get digs of their own. Crafting. To craft this, you will need 8 scaffolding poles or 8 branches, 4 sheets of tarp, 2 ropes, a sewing kit, a roll of duct tape, and a very sharp knife. We start by putting a tarp on the floor and getting our knife and cutting out an octagon, and now it will fold out and give you a Tipi ground mat. In the tab window, you will have a ground mat on the floor section with slots. From here, you place either the poles or branches to the floor next to the ground mat and fill the slots. Then we drag over the rope, and that will craft it to the second phase. So this is what it would look like with the poles. And this is what it would look like with the branches. For the third phase, it works the same. You put in the 3 tarps, the other rope, the sewing kit, the duct tape. Once you've got all them items in the slots, you then get a text to craft the cover. And there you have it, guys, your new home. So let's run it for the inspect window. You can't see the sewing work as the duct tape is over the creases, giving you that essential water and windproofing. I've got damage masks, lords of damage to models to do, so unfortunately it's going to have to be covered in a future update. Also as well, carrying capacity. It's a tent which is shared between 2 people, so it's got to hold enough carrying capacity to hold the 2 of you. So your thoughts on that, guys, on how much it should have would be great. I've got loads more ideas for this, by the way, guys, like loads more coming out the Demon Hole, such as being able to craft 2 hammocks that could go inside, or instead of tarps, you could do it the old school way and craft 2 covers from animal hides. We're almost near the end now, guys, right, but there's something I really want to show you before I go. This is bonus material. I was up in the early hours of the morning trying to get this done, okay? So please like and subscribe if you like it and you want to see more. So check this out. Okay, some of you might be thinking, well, that's great, but it's a little bit too blue and shiny for my liking. It's something that's going to be spotted definitely from a mile away. However, if we get 4 cans of green spray paint, put them in 4 slots on the tent icon, and then craft, it could turn green like this. And if you got 4 cans of black spray paint, you could make it black. So it looks ideal if you want to be some sinister looking bandit or make a bandit camp or something like that. So saving the best colours till last. I think you pretty much know what it is already. So you get 2 blacks and 2 greens, and you put them together, so it's now camo. Now, because of its shape and colour, if you stick it in nature, and I say especially in a cluster of pines because it takes on the sort of same shape, it's going to be really well blended in with nature, I reckon, and really hard to be spotted by scout bikes to even helicopters when they come around. So that's my project in progress. If you liked it and want to see it in future hives, rate up and tell anyone who might be interested. I'll be bringing out loads more models and concepts, not just for DayZ, but for other games as well. And if you can follow me on Twitter and see what's coming up next, that's where you can see it. To all my subscribers, thank you so much for all the support in my last video. You know, you guys have been totally awesome out there. And yeah, it's been Credit Dreads. So take care, guys. Have a nice day. Stay safe out there.